Hey there, guys. Welcome to the Canadian Wealth Secrets podcast. We've got the dynamic duo here from the Canadian Real Estate Show. Guys, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourselves. TK, let's start with you.
Thanks for having us, guys. So yeah, I mean, we had Kyle on the show a few weeks back, so it's one of those sort of symbiotic relationships. I scratch his back, he scratches mine. So we're on the show, and we had a great time talking to him about all the different things he's doing. Hopefully, we can sort of bring that same energy to the guys that listen to your show. Maybe there's some people who listen to both shows, and they'll say, "Oh wow, it's Darryl and TK," and maybe not. Either way, that's okay.
They will now. They
fine.
will now.
They will. Absolutely.
I'm the co-host of the Canadian Real Estate Show. That's the first thing I'm going to say, because right now that's where a lot of the energy is going into. We love recording our show every week on Sundays in the morning time. It's on YouTube and all the other podcast stations. But yeah, I'm a full-time realtor. I'm a real estate investor. I'm an athlete, a father. I do all the things that I need to do on a daily basis just to, keep up like everybody else. And I'm an optimist, and I think that we're in a great place. I think we're in a great country. And I think that, there's so much more wonderful things that's going to happen around all of us. And all we got to do is just, keep going. That's my belief.
Super cool. Well, I'm sure we're going to dig deeper into that. Thanks for giving us a nice share there. I love, you mentioned athlete. I would never dare call myself one, because it's like I try to be one, but I'm not a very good one. But you know what? Hey,
the general term.
Own it. Own it.
I love a great professional athlete. That's like another level. That we're never.
Yeah, beer league hockey player. That is me. There we are. So, how about you there, Darryl? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I know TK. Shared a little bit about him and why he does what he does on the show. Tell us about you.
So I too am the co-host of the Canadian Real Estate Show. It's probably the most fun I get to have in a week, every single week. It's a nice way to let off some steam and keep it, appraised of the real estate market and really in tune with what's going on. I'm a real estate developer by day. Same like TK, I'm a world trained athlete as well.
Just coming off an injury, right? You're on the IR, I think.
Right. I'm on the IL, and I'm on the
IL, yeah.
And I'm on the way back to the majors. They've been calling, and I'll be ready in a few months.
Awesome.
But we're here to try and maybe educate, have a little fun, entertain all at the same time. And I think I saw you guys on TikTok. You guys must have caught my eye, because I like your content and I like what you're talking about. And so, like TK said, this is a good opportunity to, do a collab, as the kids say.
Yeah.
That's TikTok language over there.
We're gonna yeah, I didn't even know we were on TikTok, Kyle. But we're gonna dig in here for sure. But how did you guys like find each other? Right? Like, did you work on a deal together, and then it's like, hey, we should shoot the shit about the real estate market on air? Or like fill me in on this story here.
If we told you the truth, you wouldn't believe us. But we did have a podcast that was before the Canadian Real Estate, or Toronto Real Estate Show, actually, too. But no, we met through mutual friends, and we were just like acquaintances until Darryl needed a ringer hockey player for his hockey team, his D-League hockey team. And that guy, he wasn't available, so he asked me. And
TK was standing beside him.
I was standing beside him, and I was like, "Hey, what about me?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So I came out and played.
And then he forgot his skates. So.
And then one game, I forgot my skates. Yeah,
turned it into a ball hockey tournament.
And then it was real estate. I mean, we just that's definitely what it was. Is because otherwise it would have just been like, hey, I need you for hockey. But then it was like, oh wow, you're in real estate. Oh wow, you're the company that I worked for. I had just joined, actually. Darryl had a big connection with there. So he was surprised. He was like, oh, you're going to that office. That's actually an office so I think that gave me credibility with him. I wasn't just another realtor, because Darryl hates realtors if you listen to his rants. So it was like, oh, you're working with like this top company, firm, team, brokerage with these other guys. And he was like, oh, that's like a small world. And then COVID. I think if COVID didn't happen, Darryl and I probably would have not gone down the same road. That's the truth. I think he can agree with that. And so when COVID happened, he was a Zoom guy. And so because of Zoom, you know, we're all lonely and stuff like that. You know, we started like just like socializing with different people. And then there was like this burning bus full of school children that I had to save. And, you know, the story goes on until we eventually landed at the Toronto real estate show.
First you saved the entire school in that burning pool, remember?
Yeah, there was a burning pool. I had to save
And
them,
so I just
then the
happened to
bus full of
be
children.
there, right?
Yeah,
I
the
just
heck
happened to
seems pretty
always
cool.
be
You
there
were in the
when
pool?
TK
Were you in the
was.
pool?
Well, I was standing there cowardly in the corner watching TK save the day. This is generally how it works. I'm more in the background and
Humble.
TK's up on the podium, you know, showing everybody
He's
his
a realtor.
gold medals and, you know, winning everything that he does, winning all the awards. And I'm just here to, you know, make him kind of look a little goofy as best I can from time to
He toned me
time.
down a little bit. Yeah, he
Right?
lightens me up a little bit.
As former educators, John and I both know like the amount of safety, you know, nuances that go on, like kiss and ride programs and like all these things. But the one thing that they always miss is making sure that the pool doesn't start on fire. And we've been talking about it for years. So, you know what? Hopefully today someone will do something about it. But either way, at least you save that group. There will be
It'll
more
be
groups
TK.
to perish. Darryl, tell us a little bit more. So that's how TK sees it. He sees it as, you know, we came together, you know, Darryl constantly leaning on TK for, you know, his hockey wizardry, now for his realtor skills and prowess. How do you see that? And then we're going to dig a little deeper here into what you guys have going on in the world of real estate and investing, you know, for the audience.
So yeah, I mean, we met, we played hockey together. We definitely had a connection through real estate, but we didn't work together. We were just friends who kind of shared that common connection. And we enjoyed talking about what we were working on together, but we really hadn't worked on anything at all together. And then, like TK said, during COVID, through other business, I had already been using Zoom a lot, and it just ended up that you know, we started talking to each other on Zoom, and we thought it'd be a good idea to maybe, we were bored. It was the beginning of COVID. I couldn't do anything with my deals. Nobody was buying any real estate. And so we were just, why don't we just start this? And so TK's a big goal setter. And he said, listen, we're only doing this if we commit to it like 100%. We're going to do this every week forever, no end in sight. And I said,
Right.
I can commit to that. That sounds like a good idea. I think that's how it went, something like that. I'm pretty sure all the good ideas come from TK. And so I followed the idea, and this is where we are. And you know, it was just something to do. There was no plan. You know, it was just like, we're gonna do this every week, no matter what, and just kind of see where it goes. And I think you know, we're doing a pretty good job. People seem to like what we're doing, and we're having a great time doing it. So, you know, it's a win-win-win.
You definitely give off the impression that you have a great time doing the show when you watch the show, and I think that adds to why people would keep coming back to watch the show. What are these two guys going to say about the real estate market today? Like, what teaching are they going to give me? But also, how can I be, in a way, entertained as I listen in? And you know, and I think people who are listening to our show are on their, you know, their wealth building journey and are trying to think about, like, what do I do with my money? How do I invest my money? So, like, what avenues should I be investing my money? How do I safeguard my money? And these are the questions that we get asked all the time. And you know, one of the things that we talk about a lot here, like our show used to be called the Invested Teacher show, which we talked a lot about real estate investing before we started talking about specifically kind of safeguarding money and wealth planning. But, you know, we are heavily involved in real estate investing, and I know that you guys are doing that as well. So I know people who are listening are also using that as one of their avenues for their wealth creation. So give us your take, like right now, like you've got, you know, interest rates came up in the last, well, it just feels like forever, but it's like capital gains tax, you know, gets handed down here. We all of a sudden, it feels like the market's soft a bit. Like like, help our listener right now, like our one listener, like help that one person, you know, just, you know, navigate a little bit. Like, is real estate still like a good place to store, you know, our money for wealth creation?
Yes. So, I mean, I'll answer this one. I think everybody gets caught up in,
Let
these
the pumper answer first.
short
Pump it
term
up, TK.
investment strategies. Like I've been caught up in every one. Like name one thing that people say you can get rich quick off of. I've tried it. I might have lost some money in it, or I got out with my money back, or I realized I took up too much of my time and I was like, this isn't really worth it. It's just everything is always like wealth creations is going to happen over a long period of time. So do I think you should just buy real estate blindly? No, of course not. But like with the right strategies, with the right education, with the right philosophy, real estate is the best investment on planet Earth. I don't think that there is. I mean, you've got so many other things out there with a lot more volatility. And maybe we've had a good run in them here and there, but it was pretty obvious when we talked about this, Kyle, on the show, when people were buying in 2022, that was not a good time to buy. Like there was no deals to have, like nothing penciled, nothing made sense. So like, yeah, if you were buying then, you got caught up in the hype. But if you're looking out there right now, it's hard to find deals, but they're out there. It's hard to find properties. And before the pandemic, the same thing. It was hard to find. It wasn't just like you buy any property. No, you got to go in with a strategy. But those strategies did not work in 2022. There was no strategy that really made any sense at all because some other schmuck was going to pay more money for the house and therefore ruined the whole strategy. So yeah, short answer is real estate's a great investment still today, and everybody should be buying it with the same lens that they should have always been using. And it should have never changed from like 40 years ago. It's the same freaking thing.
Yeah. I love that. Well said. It's like you can't blame real estate for the 2022 issues that many people find themselves dealing with now. It's not real estate. It was us. It was humans. We decided to pump that market. And I'm sure, I mean, hey, government regulation, basically free money, like all kinds of things contribute to why those things happen. But the reality is exactly what you said. It's like, it's not a real estate issue. It's that the price of real estate at the time didn't make sense. So what were you doing it for? So it sounds like, essentially if we're speculating, poor investment. I think there's no asset class that's worth maybe just blindly speculating. However, I'm going to guess that real estate eventually will work out in the end, whereas some other asset classes may not, right? So even those people that find themselves maybe underwater, maybe made a poor choice, if that's you listening right now, kind of forgive yourself a little bit and go, you know what, at least I did it here and I didn't do it in, Shiba coin or something or whatever it is that, and I'm sure that's probably,
what did I get again?
It's moon.
Yeah, Shiba Inu.
I got the mana. My mana went to basically zero, like.
Yeah, totally. And it's like, you know what? Hey, and if you get lucky doing that stuff, hey, fine, that's fun too. But at least with real estate, it's like, at least it's there. And I always come back to my primal question is like, am I financially secure? And real estate always provided me that. So I'm like, no matter what happens to the market, even if on paper, they tell me it's worth half of what I put into it, I know that I still have it and it's still there and it's still going to have value. It's just, hey, when am I going to maybe see all that money back? As long as I'm okay to be in there the long term, I'm going to be okay. It's just, let's try not to make those mistakes again if we can. Darryl, how about you? Pumping the market over here is TK. So what's your angle from the development side of things? But then also I want to hear from your own personal investment side of things as well, because I'm sure there's nuance there as well.
So I think real estate is definitely not for everybody. And whoever is in real estate really should have a strategy. Okay. Like the strategy is so important, but the strategy has to change depending on the time, right? Because timing is so important. And if you don't match the timing and the strategy correctly, you end up in a big giant hole, like somebody I know. We won't name names, but you end up in bad times when you have bad timing and you have a bad strategy. So a lot of people, like TK said, their strategy was the next put's coming to pay more money, right? And so when that dries up, that whole strategy, as TK said, dried up, and a lot of the market dried up because that was a lot of the market, right? So for me in development, my strategy, I don't know if you know this, but I am known as the assembly king. And so the assembly is a big part of my strategy, right? Because I feel that when you do an assembly, you add some value that wasn't there before. Okay. So you've assembled a bigger, better site. And that generally, if you do it properly, should have some value. Okay. So when the market's kind of pushing things down, this can counteract that, right? And then if you're going to do a development project, now you have an opportunity to put in an application for something new, which also forces up the value of the property, right? So in a down market, development, listen, nothing is safe, but with the right strategy in development and the right kind of idea within development, you can do great in any environment, right? But wrong strategy at the wrong time is a killer. And most people, they don't even know about timing.
Sure. And I think that's got to be true for every, every investment is strategy, timing, thinking about, what is it? And it relates, like, I like what you said about TK and being a big goal person. Like, what is your long-term goals? Like, what are those goals? That's part of your strategy. It has to be, and I think that is a really important kind of big takeaway. Now, because both of you are real estate investors, I'd love to hear about like your first deal. Like because when you think strategy, right, it's like you've developed a strategy over time through experience, and the timing, I think, also comes into play as well. It's like you learn through trial and error, and then you develop these things and you constantly refine strategy. You constantly refine your sense of timing. So, when we've got a listener listening right now who may be looking to store their wealth, like, should I be getting into it? Like, I'd love to hear about like your first deal. And then, like, how did your strategy then like shift towards your strategy now?
So for me, the first house I bought, renovated, fixed it up. It was a flip, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make all this money because I saw what's on TV and I see my clients doing this and that. And after it was all said and done, and and I invested maybe like less than 180 something $1,000 into renovations, and I sold the property. I did the math on if I hadn't invested those $80,000 and I would have made more money because the market went up, right. And that it wasn't the money that I put in, right? And so I got involved in other flips. I had different partners. It was all short-term money. Some of them I made money, some of them I didn't. I worked my ass off until I broke even. And then I was like, all right, like, this sucks because I'm taking away myself from the most productive part that I have. I'm in the real estate sales industry, and I can make more money in that business than I could, flipping houses and stuff. So I basically stopped getting involved with those sort of short-term real estate investments. And I bought another property as a long-term hold. And from then on, I said, you know what, I'm gonna work really hard on my real estate sales. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to invest my money with people who are active real estate investors. And I've been doing that now for years. Is I'm putting my money into the hands of professionals like Darryl, like guys that are partners and friends that I have who are incredible at what they do, and that they are going to be doing as the active partner the work that I'm not able to do, be willing to do, or believe that it's worth the time that I'm going to be investing in it compared to the job that I have. And that's been what I learned, right? You got to learn that real estate journey, right? What works for you.
I love that. I love that. Before we go over to Darryl, it's like what's hitting me there is this idea, and we've talked about it on the show before, is that so many people get confused when they talk about, and we're talking specifically real estate investing, but it can happen in other areas as well. But a lot of people like get confused between the idea of going into the real estate industry versus investing. And passive's sometimes the wrong word for it, because I don't know if it's ever completely passive. But when you go in and you're actually doing flips, for example, and you're actually running it and assembling the flip, like Darryl's mentioned, you're taking on like a job, in that world. So you recognizing, TK, that you could probably do better by doing what you do best, which is actually in the selling, in the selling of homes, buying and selling of homes transactions, and then allow people that are in the industry of developing and, or investing or whatever it is, that's a really interesting, you know, tidbit here that I hope people listening really understand. Because I hear so many people going, I have a goal in 5 years that I'm going to buy enough properties and have enough investments that all of a sudden I'm going to leave my job. And I'm always like, so are you leaving that job to take on this new job? Or are you thinking that you're just going to have all this like money just, you know, showering on you and it's going to be so amazing and it's going to happen all in 5 years? Yeah. Or how much capital do you have? So
yeah,
what,
you gotta be crazy to do it that way. Guys are crazy that do it like that, right there.
Well, it depends on what your other job is. Like,
I think, yeah, it does.
Well,
and I think
agree.
COVID just gave, for some reason, maybe it's just in our social circle, but it felt like, I think what Kyle, you're saying is like everyone came out of the woodwork being like, I'm going to be a real estate investor and I'm going to retire early. Like, I'm not going to like, and they didn't think about the work that needs to go in, or like the timing, or how much actual, you know, the amount of doors you're going to actually need to like all of a sudden have money just spitting at you that you could just not work for the rest of your life.
And having a pencil, as you know, we've talked about earlier too. It's like, it's not even just a numbers game, but it's like, hey, I could get a lot of doors if I have a lot of available capital, but I could have a lot of like pain too, which isn't all
do they have to pencil? Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Not
well,
in Ontario,
and I mean,
right?
if you just change what it means to have it pencil, you know, then that's different. So tell me, Darryl, like, is your story similar? Like, you're in development now.
Oh.
You've developed we'll call it a name for yourself, you know, the hashtag Assembly King. Did that happen from like, was that your plan from day one? Did you kind of like stumble into into real estate and sort of work your way towards it? Super curious about that. And what are you doing? Is it just development deals and that's sort of your quote unquote investment? Or are you also doing like long-term holds in other areas, or just keeping some equity in some of those deals?
Okay. So I don't know where to start.
At the beginning,
I was that guy that quit his job and like bought a lot in 2006 with a blank check while out of town. Okay. Like, this is the dumbest guy ever right here. Okay. This is like, if you're trying to make every mistake as quick as possible, I wrote the handbook. Okay. And it worked out good because, like TK was saying, the market makes, you know, some people look like geniuses just by being in it, right? You could just stand in there and make a bunch of money. I probably also would have made way more money if I didn't build the house and take all the time to do that in hindsight. But the first one actually went so well that, you know, I gained the bravado to do two the next time. And if you follow the timeline, 2008, 2009, that did not go well at all, right? And so I had to start again. And listen, it was an interesting journey, but like you were saying, I was able to refine my strategy a great deal through all of those mistakes. And believe me, that strategy is pretty fine-tuned at the moment, but it took a long time to get from that stupidity to a fine-tuned strategy, right? So what happened along the way? I tried all kinds of stuff. I started a general contracting company that turned into it had a real estate division at one point. That didn't go so well. It had a cabinetry company. We did drywall for a while. We did carpentry. All just attempts to see. TK is methodical and strategic and smart and has patience. I am the exact opposite. I just jump out of the plane and hope TK is going to be there or somebody's going to be there to catch me. Right. And unfortunately back then, like, no one was there to catch me. And thank God it was back then, because I was young and I had time to kind of get back. If it happened now, I don't know that I'd have the same energy to kind of dig myself out of the hole that I dug. But as far as investments are concerned, you'd be pretty surprised. You know, I don't own any rental properties. I do own property right now that's part of a development deal. I have a lot of money in GICs. There's a lot of money out on deposits on deals right now. My biggest investment at the moment is actually in like a tech thing that I started at the beginning of COVID that seems to never be ready to launch. But one day we'll all be talking about it, hopefully in a good light. But yeah, I mean, I lend some money out to people to make some money, and I make money through the development deals. But at the moment, I hold no real estate other than 10 properties in Forest Hill, but we don't count that.
What I think what I heard, like when you were describing your journey there, like what I heard is like you have like maybe like I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, like you got this like innate confidence to just do stuff, just to jump. You said like you're gonna jump in and hopefully something happens. Like I think that scares the crap out of a lot of people. Like like I can't take a step forward. They like it took me a long time to venture into the real estate market as an investor, and Kyle was the one dragging me by the collar, right? It was like because I was the one that's like I don't have that confidence to like take this money to kind of like go in here when it feels like it doesn't feel risky now, but it felt risky then. And it's like, is it safe to assume like you didn't have that like part holding you
Darryl
back?
doesn't have that part.
I'm so weird though, but like
it doesn't exist in him. He just moves forward, and then he's like, I got to figure this out now, and he figures things out really well. Yeah.
What about you, TK? Like, did you have that confidence for that first deal, or was it because you were you were a realtor that you learned, you had exposure to the market, and it was like, oh, it's a no-brainer to go in here?
It's gotten like it's in the beginning it was stronger, and then as you get more experience, you're willing to take those chances more and more. But in the beginning it was like, I can't make that offer, or like let's just back out of the deal, and like full of fear. And then just as time goes on, you've bought more properties and you've done more deals, and then now you're just you can be less emotional about it and make logical decisions. You recognize a good deal. That's
like I think people are different in how they learn, and like obviously there's the learn by doing. So Darryl, you're like, I'm going to learn this one way or the other. Hopefully it's a positive result at the end. Then for other people, it's like, we'll call them the analyzers, right? Like the fact finders. I'm kind of that guy. So I'm like, I won't do something until I feel like super, like I've overturned as many stones as I could to be like, I'm not going to find myself
for a realtor.
Oh, totally.
Yes.
Totally.
You're the worst client. No realtors want to work with you.
Absolutely. I mean, Matt talks about our other partner, Matt Bigley. He's a realtor, and he's like, oh, he talks about guys like me all the time. And I'm like, I'm at least aware of it. So I tell people in other industries that I'm like,
represent yourself.
I got to let you know about me. And like, here's where I'm at. And I need
He would love to represent himself, by the way. He would just be like, I'm going to be a realtor now. Because he's done so much fact finding.
I'm pretty sure Darryl made an offer on the CN Tower last week. Like, I'm pretty sure that's what I heard. I don't know. It was just, there was rumblings that he was making offers on the CN Tower, but whatever.
Well,
so
why I think that's
the opposite end.
It's important for people listening though, is to, again, identify who you are and what's going to help you get there. Like what I heard from you, John, is that when I was dragging you in, you didn't have the opportunity to do the appropriate learning so that you felt less risk. Right. So I sort of like did that, and I'm like, no, here's why. And you sort of went, oh, so you were kind of stuck, but you guys had, slightly different approaches to kind of entering in there. And I think, I wanted to touch on what you said there, Darryl, because I think a lot of people are like, it's almost like you had to say like, people might be surprised because you have a real estate show that you don't have long-term investments. But the reality is you've identified where and TK, you said it too, kind of where your unique ability lies. And that is the business where you're going to get the greatest return. So, I mean, to me, that makes 100% sense.
There was something with Buffett and Charlie Munger that they were talking about. They were saying like there were some points where 75% of my net worth, that video has been going around, was all into one company, right? Yeah. And they talk about diversification being, not what a real person does. That would be what Darryl does. Is he's gonna have to throw all his eggs in one basket in order to pull off a big deal, where other people don't feel comfortable doing that, and so they'll want to have a bunch of little rental properties with a bunch of little, duplex.
100%.
And so everyone's kind of got their own type of philosophy. So I think that's something that just on because it's such a big scale on the land development side that you need to have a ton of capital into it. And so you can't be like, well, I got my little, duplex that I'm making my, it's a 6 cap.
Right. It's like the number
going to earn me like, no, that's dead equity in there for you. It's doing nothing for you because you can hit a grand slam with that money, doing a deal at, whatever.
That's the problem, man.
Intersection.
And add to it that if you're getting, I don't want to invest and have to fly there. Okay. And I don't trust anybody at all. So I want to at least be able to get to it within a reasonable amount of time. And the problem is I haven't been able to make those make any sense financially to me. Even if I see a 10 cap, it's like $300 a month, okay, or $200 a month. And while that may excite some people to own something out in Belleville that's, you know, 250 and it makes $200 a month, and you know they'll own it one day, and that's a great strategy for some people. It doesn't do anything for me, right? I don't get it. It doesn't compute, right? But like I'll take these big giant risks on land, but like I can't sit at a blackjack table with $20. It'll kill me to lose that. But I'll tie up a piece of land and I'll waste 20 grand on due diligence and drop the deal or have to walk away or lose the deal. And that doesn't really bother me that much, which is kind of weird. Right. So but it's like I have to go with this or I can't fight this. You know, it's me, right? I feel the need to do these things for whatever reason. And luckily I'm good at it now.
I think, but it probably comes down to comfort too, right? Like you have a comfort with that knowledge of knowing, say, that market, knowing the product, knowing, you know, all those insights that you have built up over time, like where that comfort is there. Like I forget, I always think about this. I think it was Hermosi that was like, he was talking with Grant
Cardone.
Yeah, Cardone. He was talking with Grant Cardone. Cardone's like, you need to be in the real estate market. Like if you're not, you're an idiot. Like all your money should be over there. And then Hermosi's like, I don't know anything about that market. Like he's like, that seems so risky to me because I don't know it. But he's like, but I know business. So I buy and sell businesses and I help grow businesses. That's not risky to me at all. Like this whole like idea of risk is based off like our comfort and our knowledge zone. For you, it's like not risky to buy and sell large pieces of land, but that sounds so risky and scary to probably everyone else or many people. And it's like comes down to like where our skill set lies that makes it like where the risk actually lies, which I think because so many people are going like, things like they'll just say the real estate market is risky and not have that perspective that it actually is not risky if you know what you're doing. And it is risky if you get into, say, buy this business over here and you have no idea what you're doing. That's risk. Like the risk is actually a sliding scale on like what it is you actually know about.
100%. That's exactly
and
what
who
it
you
is.
work with, especially in real estate. Holy cow, some of these realtors are really like unbelievable.
Like
but they're so bad. You know, TK knows it. The reality is that 98% of the realtors out there have no idea what they're doing, even if they're really good at real estate, like not even good at real estate, making money. Okay, there's two totally different things. Now we're going to start to see the better realtors who kind of rise to the top, like TK, obviously. But it's really tough to get some of these deals done because of the people involved. They're not, you have residential realtors selling big land assemblies that don't know what they're doing, you know? And that can cost the seller. It could cost the buyer. It could cost like the city a whole bunch of units that couldn't get on the market. Like there's a real cost to these things and people don't realize it because it's like, I know Mary or, you know, I know whoever the hell. It's a real problem. People don't realize it.
Yeah. Well, our partner, Matt, who is a realtor, and he was, you know, he's newer to the space, we'll call it, like six years in or whatever. And originally his thought was like, I'm going to be the investor real estate agent because I have investments, you know, like that seems logical. But when things stopped penciling, he's like, this is the worst market ever. Cause like, I'm not going to mislead someone that this is a good idea. So he's like, I need to find, he's like, I need to find people that want primary residences where it goes and he can be open and honest and say, hey, listen, do you plan on flipping it in 2 or 3 years? Cause if so, might not be a good idea right now. But if this is your dream home and you love it and you're okay with it being worth a lot or a little in the next year or two, but you know it'll be net better in the end, then rock and roll. Like, let's write it up, you know? But at the end of the day, like, here's where we're at. And I think you know, there's so many people in many industries, not just real estate, the financial industry, like all of these things where these people are trying to quote unquote do a job for people to solve a problem that they've never solved for themselves before. So that means they've never experienced the problem themselves. They've never actually, you know, assisted someone with, you know, knowing what that looks like and sounds like, but yet they're there giving the advice on what you would do, but they've never been there themselves. And that, I think, is a really kind of scary thing about the industry, be it real estate, financial, you know, many other industries out there as well.
Yeah, if you're going to deal with a realtor to buy an investment property, selling too, but definitely buying an investment property, and they don't own real estate investments, you know, they don't have at least one rental property that's like a long-term hold. Well, they've dealt with the ups and downs and all that kind of stuff. It's hard for you to get great advice from them. I'm not saying you can't. There's people out there who are good at their jobs and have different, you know, skill sets and investments and philosophies, but definitely that would be something that I'd be looking for. But like I was kind of getting back to from when I was talking in the beginning, like investing money, especially the people listening to your show, there's no shame in finding a partner who's going to be, you know, doing the work and to have really good investment partners. Like if you looked at some of the deals that Darryl's done, the amount of money that his partners have made on it, it's like insanity what returns they got, and they never would have got that anywhere else. And some of the deals, you know, especially if you're using the burst strategy, like you're talking about infinite returns, you're owning properties without any of your money, you know, so you've got active partners out there doing all the work, finding the deals, you know, you're refinancing it afterwards, you get all your money back. Now you own a property. Okay, it's 50% or whatever the deal is you got with your partner, but like you own a property that you haven't even maybe even gone and seen yet, where they did all the work, and you've got none of your money in the deal. Like, how is that not a good real estate investment?
Yeah, that sounds like me for you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I own a bunch of properties. I don't even think I put a dime in because Kyle did all the work.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, how is that not like, is that like, that's what a real estate strategy is.
Yeah.
And that there's, you know, opportunities for people out there. So people just get caught up in, I deal with a lot of clients who are not supposed to be in real estate, and they have to sell their property after they bought it with another agent that they paid too much, or the tenants were a headache, or blah, 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 blah. They need the money. And they have to take a loss, or, you know, sometimes when the market was good, they came out okay, but they never should have gotten into it in the first place. And if they had, you know, understood that from the beginning, then they would be still owning real estate today. Some of those clients were, let's say 10 years ago. Well, they'd still own real estate today. It would be worth double, triple, whatever. And they never would have had to lift a finger, and all those issues that they thought, you know, they didn't enjoy wouldn't have been there, and they'd be doing great right now. So you got to figure out yourself and how to navigate your own life. Your job is a simple job and you hate it. Maybe getting into real estate investment full-time is it. But if you love your job, then there's like, when people say to me like, oh, you know, I love my job. You know, maybe if I was a math teacher, maybe I would say I want to be a real estate investor. You know, I'm not
it's
that good
crazy because we loved it too. This is the
kids.
problem. We actually loved it, you know, and
like,
it's like, we find it hard.
We love two things though. You love two things.
We love a lot.
But there's people out there with that situation, and I don't totally
sure.
like understand them and commend them for being able to leave and move forward. But also, if you got a great job, you love it, and you want to be real estate invested on the side, also perfectly fine.
Right. We ask everyone who's a guest, you know, we call it like the secret sauce question, the wealth secret sauce. Like if you think about your strategies, you think about like your wealth creation, like we are all, you know, entrepreneurs. We're all trying to, you know, create probably, you know, a wealth for ourselves, for our families, you know, for our generations. Like if you had to think about like, what do you think is your secret sauce for creating your wealth, or, you know, or your legacy? What would you say your secret sauce is?
You want to go, TK?
You go first, Darryl. I just talked, you
know. My secret sauce, I think, is a combination of the fact that I don't sleep very well. I am very persistent, and I'm willing to read a lot. Okay. I read so many documents that people want to pay other people to read, that I think I get a little bit of an edge because I know a lot of things that people don't know way before they find them out.
I love it.
Yeah, like the inside info. It's almost like you're willing to put the work in to figure out what most people don't put the work in. And that gives you an edge.
Yeah, and I'm looking for an edge in that reading. And so most people, like, they'll maybe glance over it, or they'll find the little part that applies to what they have right in front of them at the moment. But I'm just constantly reading like development applications and planning rationales and planning, like everything about planning, until I find my little arbitrage.
I love it. You know what? I had you pegged as not maybe being a fact finder, but it sounds like you are quite a fact finder, and that might also make people believe like you kind of jump in and cannonball into the pool. But it's like, it sounds like because of all of that
He
work
knew what
you
pool
do,
to jump into.
exactly. You're coming
Yeah.
in. You're like, when you're coming, you're like, here we go,
I
cannonball. It's like
I
ready to
built
go.
this pool now,
Yeah, there
right?
you go.
This
It's
is a
not the pool
custom
that's on
pool.
fire though, eh? With all the kids in it, hopefully.
Not
But
yet.
When I say that he does that, it's not because he didn't do enough research. It's because the information isn't available.
right.
Like nobody knows the answers. And so
Right.
everyone goes, well, A, B, and C could happen, but you won't know A, B, and C until you actually start moving forward. So Darryl's willing to ignore the fact that A, B, and C is not actually available.
There's no B and C.
Right?
Right.
It's just like, he just basically says, I know that
A's going to happen.
I
We're
need to
doing
figure
it.
this out,
Yeah.
but I'm going to jump in anyways, and we'll find out what type of, realities we're actually facing here. And so
Super
that's
cool.
something. Yeah, it's not just because he overlooked something or like he could have found that out. No, like nobody knows the answers. It's just he's willing to jump in.
Yeah,
I think
no,
my
I
short
think that's
answer.
super. Yeah, that's super valuable though for people hearing that, because sometimes people just think like, oh, maybe I should just like do the cannonball, but it's like, whoa, you have lots of learning going on in the background too, which I think is really key. But yeah, go ahead there, TK.
And if Darryl had a deal, because I trust him, and then I know he will make sure that everything is in place before he actually moves forward at the final stage. If he were to say to me, I got this great deal and this is what the investment is, like I'm in, because I got other things on my mind. I trust him that he would be like, and he'd been reading the fine print of the planning report or whatever it is enough to say this is a really good opportunity, and I would trust that, because that's it. If you want to go and invest your money with somebody and you expect them to have all the answers already, you'll never invest with anybody, because they won't be able to give you all the investors. They'll tell you the answers. They'll say this A, B, C could have, I don't know this, and then I'll wait for the perfect deal. Then once the deal is done, and Darryl knows this for sure, once the deal is done and they go, oh, this happened, and I sold it for this much, I refinanced for this much, oh, we got this many stories or whatever, they go, oh, I should have invested with you, oh man, that was such a great deal. Like that's the story, like of every person Darryl's ever had a conversation with about investing with him. There's always like oh man, why didn't I just do it? And it was because they wanted all those answers, instead of just saying, look, out of all the people in my circle, he knows the most. I trust that he'll get us to the finish line. And you got to have a little bit of blind faith. But my quick answer just is strictly delayed gratification. I'm not trying to get any money now. I got a good job. I'm working hard. So any investing is like, I'm never like, oh, how do I, create things for TK today? It's all just TK in the future will thank me, because that'll be waiting there for him. And that's
so are you like
secret sauce.
Are you storing things, or you're investing long term? Is that what you're saying? Like are you buying properties and investing long term, or are you just socking your money away and say your RSPs and all that kind of stuff?
No, none of that garbage. All the investments that I'm doing is all being reinvested. Everything that I'm doing is always going to be, building up that capital, through different ways. And I'm involved in a few different things, but really, real estate is it. And, I'm not saying to myself, how do I take the money out of this real estate nest egg and go and buy a car or like anything stupid like that? There's no benefit to me right now in any of my real estate investing at all. And I don't plan on it for a long time.
I love it. It's our same strategy. We have it. It's our investment slush fund, any property income, all that. It's just rolls right back in there. And we love doing what we do. We actually love too many jobs, unfortunately, as we already mentioned. So it's like, again, I think that's such a great message for people to hear, is that it is not a get rich quick. Like, regardless if it's real estate or it's anything, developments or whatever you're choosing to do. So key, so helpful. Guys, where can folks, we'll have links in the show notes, of course, as we always do. But for those who are listening, they're going, you know what? These two cats, hey, I love listening to hockey players, especially those guys coming off big injuries.
That's right.
There you
He's a
go.
bully.
Where can they find you
I'm coming
guys
back.
and subscribe to all the great things that you guys are doing? Let's start with Darryl. You can talk about where you're at, but then also where you both are at. Go ahead.
My website is dealcoreproperties.com. You can find me on Twitter at the Frankfort Report and on YouTube at the Canadian Real Estate Show.
Love it. And TK.
Yeah, the Canadian Real Estate Show. You guys should check that out first on Instagram, armbar_broker. And our website's getleo.com if you want information about our company.
Awesome, guys. Thanks so much for joining us here, and look forward to connecting with you both later on.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Take it easy.